पुरुषस्य रूपमधिकम् प्रच्छन्नगुप्तं धनम् विद्या भोगकरी यशः सुखकरी विद्या गुरुणा गुरुः विद्या बन्धुजनो विदेशगमने विद्या परं दैवतम् विद्या राजसु पूज्यते न तु धनम् विद्या विहीनः पशुः विद्या प्रशस्यते लोकैः विद्या सर्वत्र गौरवा विद्यया लभते सर्वम् विद्वान् सर्वत्र पूज्यते ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते न हि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते न हि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते।
Dr. Shayeree Ghosh has done her Masters in English Literature. She has done Masters of Philosophy in English and has qualified the National Eligibility Test. She also holds a Ph.D. degree in subject of English. Dr. Shayeree Ghosh also has a second Master's degree in Sociology. She has also been trained by the Asian College of Teachers in teaching English as a second language. Dr. Shayeree Ghosh has earned an International Diploma in teaching English as a second language, that is TESOL, with specialization in business English. She has also completed Sangeet Visharad, that is a bachelor's degree in music from Khairagad University. She has presented research papers in national and international conferences and also published various research papers in peer-reviewed journals. The recent paper presented by Dr. Shayeree Ghosh is titled New Aesthetics of Horror Mashup, an analysis of Nick Mamata's move underground. It was presented in International Conference on Recent Advances in Science, Technology, Humanities and Management. Previously, she has worked at DJ Sanghvi Engineering College for 2 years and presently she is working as an assistant professor at Department of English at Mulund College of Commerce, autonomous since 2013. So welcome Vidyvachspati, Dr. Shayeree Ghosh.
Namaskar. I would like to begin by thanking Prt36 Vidyalaya Association, Mulund College of Commerce, and especially our principal, Dr. Sonali Pednekar. They have inspired us to share our ideas with each other in this wonderful platform that PTV has created. I especially find this very interesting because although I am from language and literature background, but when I see these videos made by many other faculty members from other subjects, they give me an idea, an all-round idea about my own thesis, about my own area of knowledge. Because we know that all knowledge is the same, and hence it enhances each of our area of understanding because of this wonderful platform. I really again thank the Prt36 Vidyalaya Association. With that, I would like to begin. As I said, I am from literature background. My PhD was in English literature, and the topic that I had taken for my research was language and gender. in select novels of two globally renowned Mexican authors, Carlos Fuente and Angeles Mastretta. Now, Carlos Fuente and Angeles Mastretta are two literary luminaries, and they are the leading voices, not only in Mexican fiction, but throughout the world, who have been identified with path breaking and frame breaking fiction. While Carlos Fuente experiments largely with narratives and fictional breakthroughs, Angeles Mastretta brings into question the very social structure that privileges patriarchy by examining certain sites like politics, nationalism, religion, regionalism, and language, of course. Both these writers have had tremendous impact on the world of fiction with their revolutionary attitude to storytelling in their novels. And that's what inspired me to begin the journey of my PhD. Now, let us start with the basics. What are novels? Novels are fictional literature of any culture in which they are written. And every literature work is the reflection of its own society. In this case, I have taken Mexican authors, so their novels reflect how language and gender is perceived in Mexican society. So, my research probes into the gender issues in Mexican society, which is mirrored in its literature. The rationale behind taking a female writer and a male writer is to see the differences and similarities in the way in which these writers um, put their characters, use their language, metaphors, images, and either legitimize gender privileges or they help to subvert them in our society. I would also like to state here the reason to select language and gender as a theoretical framework of my research. To me, the fact that every one of us find gender to be so self-evident in our society is very, very intriguing. Why? Why do we find gender is very natural? Well, I'm fascinated by what the prominent sociolinguist Penelope Eckert in her work Language and Gender points out. She says that biologically men and women are two opposites, right? Which we think in our society, men and women, two opposites. But what they do in nature, they complement each other in sustaining human life. But there is the difference between nature and what society does. Society creates a higher position of one gender than the other. People are always very eager to combine any fact or belief with linguistic stereotypes in order to create this gender inequality in our society. And one factor that sustains these gender hierarchy, gender differences is language. And how language is used in society is really very important when it comes to gender disparity in our society. Language constantly perpetuates and nourishes the gender asymmetries in our psyche, in our personalities, and social conventions. In my research, I identify and analyze these various gender issues in the works of Mastretta and Fuente. Now, let us talk about these gender differences, which I just mentioned, are hidden in the language, not only in novels or literature, but everywhere around us. One critic, Robin Morgan, in her work Going Too Far, gives examples of language conventions like the naming system. She says that the naming system of most of the societies not only create gender asymmetry, but make women almost invisible in our social system. How? She points out that women do not have their own last name. We all know that. She bears her father's name until she exchanges it with that of her husband's. So not only does she does not have her own name, but she cannot pass on her name, her maiden name, to her children. So that is making women invisible from a particular social system. Facts and examples like these persist in every society. This kindles my curiosity and furthers my interest in the field of linguistic feminism. Now, what is linguistic feminism? It's a field in which language is seen in association with gender. How language affects gender and gender practices in our society. This study helps in eliminating gender discrimination in language and in social practices. So, how do we bring reform in the society through linguistic feminism? Well, when linguistic feminism points out at various unconscious ways we use language or either silence women or emphasize their gender in a negative light, then it can also bring changes in the way we perceive the positioning of women in societies. So it can also help in correcting ourselves and ultimately bringing a positive position for women in the society. Reforms of such sexist languages has not only been a crucial development in linguistic feminism, but also in the struggle of gender equality. And hence, an examination of the use and resistance to sexist language needs to be studied. And this is what I have tried in my research in a very small way. Linguists and gender scholars like Deborah Tannen, Robin Lakoff, Susan Raymond, and many more explore the role of language and communication in constructing and representing gender. And they all propose a scrutiny of different discourses to see how differences in language usage by men and women create gender discrepancy in our society. Apart from these studies, there are other works which demonstrate many theoretical aspects of linguistic feminism. To name some, we can take gender indexing, androcentric generics used in daily life, asymmetries and irregularities in male and female addresses, markedness, gender metaphors, maleness of language, sexism, and there are so many more which we use in our daily life to create a symbolic position of women which is inferior to men. And some of it we are not even aware of. Let us discuss some examples of these linguistic aspects. For example, the experts, Lakoff and Spender, they point out how women's speech is hesitant and they are encouraged to be hesitant and to be very polite. On the other hand, men are not that much encouraged to do so. Another study also points out how men interrupt women much more in any discourse than women do. So, another aspect in language is markedness, which I just mentioned. We can point out that there are asymmetries, that means differences between the gendered terms. Let us take 2, 3 terms here. The gendered term master and mistress, they are opposite to each other. Dog and bitch, they are also the pointing out to the same animal. Here we see that the feminine terms like mistress and bitch have negative associations. We don't take these words in better set environments. But if we say dog or master even, they are either neutral or they have very positive connotations in our society. So this is called gendered words for women. Another subtle form of gender differentiation is androcentric generics. It is very difficult to understand for us. Let us see why. Androcentric generics refer to the use of masculine forms such as man, he, mankind, maybe Bachelor of Arts, maybe chairman. These generic terms include women in them, don't they? These pronouns and generic words reflect the ways in which women are forced to internalize the male supremacy in their use of language. Because when we say man, mankind, we also include women, right? Now imagine if I say womankind, how many men will recognize themselves as womankind? None, right? Because men never recognize to be a part of the same species as women. However, women are forced to recognize themselves as mankind, right? So, we generally say, my daughter is not less than a son, and we feel proud to say that. But can you say that my son is no less than a daughter? It will be laughable in society. And that is how language creates all the difference. We also find sexism in various jokes, ridicules, color words, swear words, all of which confirm gender binaries and relegate non masculine gender positions to the margins of language and society. Let us take a few more examples. For example, any female attribute is considered to be humiliating in males. So we can very easily insult them by saying, "Are you wearing bangles?" Or "Don't walk like a girl." So it will be a real insult for that. So examples like these abound in our daily life, encouraging the marginal position of women in society and literature. And since literature embodies the universal issues like race, caste, gender, etc., so our society sustains these differentiations, and literature plays a huge role in it. So by pointing out all these um, gendered markings or words in literature, we can actually help to enhance our understanding how women are treated in language, and ultimately correct whatever wrong words we use, and each word play as an action. We also act like we talk. So I would like at the end to assert everyone to further such researches in all major works where we can identify and compare the gender inequalities in various fields and see how by correcting language we can also correct the way we behave in society. Thank you very much. This was my research presentation. Thank you.
ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते न हि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते न हि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते